Welcome back to our bathroom remodel. We're at the point of filling in the drywall where we tore out the old drop-in soaking tub where there was no drywall behind it. Drywalling is one of those jobs that you may want to hire a professional to do for you, as it takes a fair amount of trial and error to get good at. I had done a couple of small drywall projects in the past, so I figured I'd proceed with it. I want to give a shout out to Jeff at RenoVision DIY. I wouldn't have had the great results that I'm getting on this project without his excellent drywalling videos, especially his drywall A to Z DIY tutorial. That video has saved me a lot of time using proper technique and avoiding tons of sanding. I'll be putting a link to his channel in the title and description of this video. So as not to scare you away from trying your own drywall project, I'm not going to be showing you my struggles to fine-tune my drywall skills. Instead, I highly recommend you watching Jeff do it the right way. Actually, this isn't going all that bad. In the end, I'm getting the desired results. It's all about using the proper tools and techniques. As Jeff stresses in his videos, applying the right amount of mud is critical in keeping the sanding to a minimum. So these are pretty much the only taping tools that you'll end up needing. These are tools that I already had. So this is a 3-inch knife instead of a 4-inch, which is maybe more widely used. A 6-inch knife and a 10-inch taping blade knife. I had all these tools, so I didn't go out and buy any more. You can, instead of the 10-inch blade, you could use a 12, or you could also use a trowel. That's what Jeff uses in his videos, and it's a little bit different method to apply. And I was going to try this one at 10-inch until I realized this one that I had is actually a curved blade, and it's used to do factory tapered edges. And so it would actually dig in if you're not using it for the right application. And this is actually what is called a butt joint. The edges of drywall are tapered, and so you can actually apply tape and mud to a tapered joint with this curved blade, since it will apply more to the middle, and the mud shrinks and gives you a pretty much even coverage in that tapered edge. I use the 6-inch knife to embed the tape. That's initially just applying enough mud to embed your tape, and don't get too much mud on the wall. That's the secret to keeping the sanding down, is to just apply enough mud to get that tape embedded. Then I use the aforementioned 10-inch knife to cover the tape after it was embedded in the mud. You can still see the tape through the thin layer of mud that I've put on. That's after embedding it and putting the first layer over the tape. And the whole idea is put pressure on and keep it a thin layer to avoid a bunch of sanding later. Just apply pressure to feather the edges and keep the tape visible for the first layer. But this being a butt joint where I had to cut the edges which are not tapered, you don't want to get it too thick with the tape and the mud because it's already higher than the drywall. So what I did was put the mud in there, put the thin layer on top and the bottom, and then, like in Jeff's videos, I'll be applying 2 more layers to fan this out and keep the mud as low as possible, so the actual hump in the drywall is no thicker than the initial tape installation. And after each coat, after it dries, you can run through and knock down any of the edges. What you weren't able to feather successfully down to the drywall, just go through and knock down the rough edges before you put your next coat on. Then also in this 3 or 4 coat process, you'll want to fill your screw holes with a 3 or 4 inch blade and hit them one day, let them dry, come back the next day, knock down any edges, hit them again until the day that you see no more material filling a void over the screws. So your corners will be done with pretty much the same principle as your other joints. You'll want to be using a 6-inch blade for that. And you'll want to do one side of your corner on one day, let it dry, come back and do the other side the next day so you don't damage the wet side if you're trying to do them both on the same day. It's better to do one, let it dry, do the next one. So it's pretty much the same principle. You want to apply just enough mud to cover the tape in the corner. And you want to apply some heavier pressure to the outside to fan it down into the drywall. And then, like I say, it'll probably take 2 coats. But after it dries on the first day, you want to come by and knock down any high edges and also knock down the corners, any high edges, so you don't run into trouble with your other side and the second coat. So one of the tools that I failed to mention earlier is one of the most important tools, and that's called Drywall Hawk, H-A-W-K. And I use that. I did go out and purchase one of these. I had an old mud trough that's more difficult to use because you got to dig the mud out of the corners. And this just looked like it'd be a lot easier to use, and I found that it really is. Just put your mud in the middle and clean your blades a lot easier. And it's just so much easier to use. And then another thing that Jeff suggested is putting some water in your mud at the end of the day. Once you open your container, he mentioned that if you don't do anything with it for 3-4 days, it'll start to harden up on you. So what he does is scrape it all down off the edges, flatten out the top, and put some water on top just to keep it moist. And then it makes it more creamier to use the second, third, and fourth day, which is what you want anyway. You don't want a thick mud while you're applying it. You want it to be real thin and be able to feather it out. So just keeping it moist with water and cover it up every day, and it'll last you to the end of your project. It's also a good idea to apply a little water on the first day when you initially open your bucket of mud to make it a little bit creamier instead of using it right out of the bucket. It's a little bit stiff that way. So when it does get to the sanding portion of the job, and hopefully you've kept it to a minimum by keeping the mud as thin as you can, I found this on Amazon. It was fairly reasonable. And just an attachment for your shop vac and 3 different sizes of shop vac hoses with that adapter. And comes with one screen and just attaches just like any other sanding block. I've used it once and it works really good, eliminating the airborne dust. So that's pretty much it for the drywalling in our bathroom remodel. It's just the basics, but the intent here was to help you decide if you want to do the drywalling in your project. If you do end up deciding to do your own drywalling on your project, do yourself a favor and watch Jeff's videos on home RenoVision DIY. It'll help you out. It helped me out tremendously. So hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified on upcoming videos as we progress through our bathroom remodel. Thanks for watching.